Hello everyone and welcome to this hopefully short devlog video of a game that I made over the weekend. It is currently Monday and we just had the Midsummer weekend here in Sweden, and yeah, I had some other plans for Midsummer that didn't really pan out the way I wanted them to. So I found myself in this situation where I now have a public holiday on Friday, so a long weekend, and I kind of want to do something with it, right? I don't want to just waste my time doing whatever I normally do or play the new Path of Exile League or whatever. I actually want to, for once, make something and finish it so I can put it up and people can play it. Now, for the past 2 weeks, I've been using the Godot engine, so I figured, I'll make a new project in Godot and I'll have my own little game jam over the weekend. So that is what I've done, and what you can see here is the game. It's called Paco and Ice. This is the main menu. I haven't obviously put much into it, and the game is basically this. It's a top-down 2D arcade game with you only have one screen. You slide around on ice. As you can see, the ice breaks as you slide over them. You pick up these penguins. You want to save these penguins, bring them back home, and if the ice breaks, it reveals water, and if you hit the water, you fail the game and you have to start over. That is basically the game in a nutshell, and yeah, I just want to go through how it all started, and my thought process and everything from start to finish. I'm gonna try and do that as quickly as I possibly can. So to start off, I'm gonna show you this picture of my whiteboard. If you don't have a whiteboard, I would suggest you get one. It's actually really useful. You could use a tablet if you have that, or maybe even paint in Photoshop or whatever. Anything really would work. I find the analog way of using a whiteboard really helps. So for this project, I knew I want to use Godot. So you can see on the list here, first of all, 2D Godot. I want to make a game that would fit on or work on a mobile or a handheld device, which is why it has this weird aspect ratio to it. This is actually the highest aspect ratio I could find for a handheld device. That is like a tablet. I can't remember which one, but I haven't tried this on a tablet or mobile phone, but I believe I could make it work somehow. I'm not too fussed about it right now. Yeah, if we continue on the list, we have Paco. So basically at this point, I wrote anything down, right? So this was Monday morning. No, sorry, Friday morning. My bad. Friday morning, I have the day off. I'm like, I'm gonna write everything down. So I wrote down 2D, Godot, preferably a mobile. Paco, I wrote that down because Paco, as you can see here, he's a character from a game called Gigantic, which is a multiplayer game, or was. It's no longer running, sadly. It's only my favorite multiplayer game ever, and had amazing character designs. And Paco was one of the latest one they added. He's a baby Yeti, I believe, if I'm not completely wrong. He loves to run around and play and throw snowballs and slide and just have a grand old time. And I really like that character in Gigantic, so that's why I wrote him down. So after that, I knew that I don't have the weekend, so what I should do is I should pick one mechanic, make that feel really good, and I'm only gonna have one screen, especially like if it's gonna be on anything but PC, and if I'm gonna have enough time, and it's gonna be kind of arcadey, I guess. I was like, yeah, one screen is fine. So that's what I decided to go with. So that's all I had to start off with, really, and that was really quick. Now after this, I had to decide, okay, what is the mechanic? Like, what do you do? And here's the thing. Looking at the character in Gigantic, Paco had a lot of things he could do. I've written them down. I'm sorry if you can't read this, because I know it's terrible, but it's he likes to slide around. He likes to hug people, play with them, yada yada. And I wrote some of them down, And to me, it was really easy to, you know, overscope. So I really forced myself, okay, no, this is what we're gonna do. And I basically took my favorite thing to do with this character in Gigantic, and that was to slide around. So I'm okay. I decided to, okay, you're gonna slide around, and it's a Yeti, you know, might as well go with this, you know, snow and ice theme where you slide around on ice. But then what? Like, what's the deal there? Maybe you want to have some sort of score, or do you want to survive for as long as you possibly can? You know, something, right? Now, I don't always flesh out my game, you know, completely. I don't think anyone does, but like, just to have, I just do enough so I have something to work with. So that's what I did. I was like, okay, you slide around, you're on ice, I'm gonna start there. And then I started thinking, okay, well, underneath ice you have water, right? So what if the ice breaks as you slide across it, and if you touch water, that's it, right? And yeah, you would win if you pick all them up. If you know, in the current system, at that point I didn't have any like score or anything. So on Friday, after I did all this on the whiteboard, I set the project up, right? So I did just looked at, like, I'm still learning the engine, so I was like, you know, I'll set up a basic 2D project, set up a scene, I'll add like placeholder stuff like, you know, water, I'll make the character. And this is my first character that I made. This is pixel art by a community member. I can't remember the name, but really cool stuff. So you said there's a placeholder, and I made my character. As you can see here, here's my player character. This is a kinematic body 2D. Now, when I started this, I looked at like what people would recommend for 2D, and a lot of people were like, yeah, no, kinematic versus rigid, right? And I went with kinematic because people praised it a lot. You can see some comments here. We'll get to that. So that's what I started with. So on Friday, I set up the basic project, you know, the scenes, and made this basic character and started playing around with the movement. Now, by the end of Friday, I had kind of this movement. What I had was the character would move a bit quicker, but it would also follow the mouse. So it would like rotate like this, but as soon as I let go, it would stop, right? Because it's not a physics-based actor, right? So it will go in the direction I tell it to, and then stop. Now, obviously, I don't want that. I want the character to be able to slide when I let go, and then bounce, right? And you have friction and all that. But the day was over. I decided to play some Path of Exile, tried a new league, regretted my character, and started a new one. And then on Saturday, my goal was to take this character and sort out the movement. That didn't happen. So at the start of Saturday, I started, like, I did so much research and put so much time into movement, and it is very important, but it was like getting to my nerves, right? Like starting to drive me crazy. So I actually eventually stopped. Like at one point, when you like, I do level design normally, but even in game design, it's like when you reach a certain point, you're like, okay, I need a break, right? I need to do something else, because like when I worked on this and like the movement, I would constantly test it, obviously, and it's like you don't see the progress, and it gets really frustrating. So what I did was I started making like UI stuff. Like I made the main screen, I made the pause screen, you know, a lot of UI things. I also did the stamina and player, like the saving the player data and all that stuff, so you can see like the stamina and the meter. And this is something that I didn't have in the beginning, like when I started this project. I'm like, yeah, you know, obviously, you know, otherwise you can just keep sliding forever, you know. And I still have to tweak. Like I'm still working on this now after the weekend is over. I need to tweak a few things and fix a few things, but I will put on a show eventually. So yeah, I did those things. And then on the whiteboard, it says Sunday. So on Saturday evening, I was like, okay, on Sunday, I need to fix the goddamn slide. Like, the movement needs to be fixed. That's it. And then I'm like, okay, well, I would like to add pickups because, you know, it would be nice when you're sliding around to, like, instead of having like a normal arcade score, you're not shooting or anything. Maybe you just pick stuff up. Like, what makes sense? Like, took me a while, but I'm like, okay, penguins. You can rescue penguins. Why not? Easy enough. 10 of them. Fine. That's the score. And then obviously add that score to the UI and, you know, coding that in and updating it, all that stuff. And look at the platforms themselves, because I didn't have these. I had a placeholder and a sound manager. So come Sunday morning, I started looking at the movement, gave up. Like Saturday, I was gonna give up for now. I moved on to the other things on the whiteboard. So I made the pickups here. I found a really cool sprite here of a penguin. Set that up. Yeah, and then after that I did the score, because, you know, these will give you a score. And then I'm like, okay, well, I also need sound and music, and these need sounds as well. You know, play needs sounds, yada yada. So I made a sound manager. Now, I did a lot of that stuff, minus the movement and the ice platforms. So, late Sunday evening, I would say, Sunday evening, afternoon, evening, somewhere around there, I actually solved the player movement. And for those of you with a keen eye, you probably noticed that there's a different player character. So here's the thing. During the weekend, I have a good friend of mine. We're making a 2D project together in Godot. It's really fun. His name is Fabian, and I spoke to him a lot during the weekend. You know, it's nice to talk to someone and like, okay, I'm thinking of making this. How do you think I should do it? I'm thinking like maybe this. You know, he's someone to give you ideas, right, and how to do things. So he had been helping me back and forth, and like, yeah, maybe you can do that or this. Now, he said something on Sunday when I talked about the movement, and that it didn't work the way I wanted with this character. He said, well, I think for your game, it makes more sense to have a rigid body. And that's when I realized I completely forgot about rigid bodies, because, like I said, in the beginning of the project, I looked it up, right? And like kinematic versus rigid, and people are like, oh, but people say kinematic is better 2D. You know, I didn't really think about what would make more sense for my game, right? I just went with the popular one, or the better one that people say. So I'm like, yeah, oh crap, yeah, I should look that up. So I did. So I made a copy of my character, switched it to a rigid body, and I realized you can even have physics material. I'm like, holy crap, I can like define the friction and mass, and I'm getting so much stuff for free. And then I realized, well, I should have done this ages ago, you know, because now I finally get the movement, right? I can now make this, like, this is it. It's not done, obviously, but it works. Like, going from the kinematic, and like, these are all the things that I tried, and like, yeah, rigid body, do this, and it's with all the collision and everything is works. And I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I didn't think of that. So yeah, now at this point, I had the movement down, I had the pickups, I had the sounds, the music, the score. You know, I could tweak everything, you know, all that. Nice. But there's one thing missing, and that was the ice, because I still had the placeholder ice, right? So how do I do this? So the idea is, underneath the ice you have water, and on top of that you have ice. You have these patches of ice. So the first thing I did was, why not have the water just detect when the player enters it? That should be easier, right? I mean, like the ice is above the water, you know, even like the Z index or whatever, is that index you want to call it. So that should be fine, except it's not, because even though the water is technically behind the ice, it still detects the player. So that was a problem, like pretty big problem. And how would you solve that? Well, it didn't take that long, surprisingly. So I went to bed, and 10 minutes after I went to bed, I realized how I should do this, because I already had set the ice pieces of ice. They were already set up to detect the player, right, when it enters and exits. And I realized, well, at first I destroy them, right? I'm like, okay, well, the player has now, you know, you slide across them and it destroys them. And then I'm like, okay, well, I don't want that. I want it to crack and start to break, so you know, you can use them a few times and then the water shows up. And then I realized, well, yeah, if I don't destroy them, like if I don't destroy them and I change the value, so it only changes like the modulation of it, like the alpha, you know, you can't see the ice, right? The ice is just gone, but you can see the water. And then I realized, well, if I don't destroy it, it can still detect the player, right? Because it's still here, so it still knows, like, okay, now I enter water, right? Why don't I just do that? Like, I don't destroy the ice pieces, I use the same pieces, the same triggers as before, but when it's completely, you know, gone, it now tells the game, okay, well, the player did hit the ice piece, but it's actually water now. I'm like, well, that's it. I mean, yeah, perfect. So yeah, that was actually the last thing that I did for this game jam. Like I said, I'm still working on this. I'm doing some more menu stuff. I have a few things that I still need to do, like, for example, the there's only a fail state now, so I need to make sure that when you pick all 10 of them up, you win, stuff like that. And yeah, I want to change how you enter the level. So my idea is that when you come from the main menu and enter this level, it would say click to start, and I want the character to like slide into a point. So I'm gonna script like, okay, the player starts off screen and it will slide into the middle or something, right? That way you also get this whole thing where you can see the ice break, right? So when it slides in, you can, oh crap. Also a bit of a douche move, but it's a cool visual thing, I think. So I still, yeah, as you can tell, I have a few things left to work with, but I'm really happy with what I have right now. Seeing as I only worked on this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I had like crazy issues with movements, which I shouldn't have had. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this, fix things, tweak things, and eventually I will put it on itch.io. You can just download and play it and try it out for yourself. But yeah, I really think that if you want any tips to release something or actually do something, like, I would go for like your own kind of game jam thing, which is what I did, right? So I'm like, okay, I gave myself Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because it was a long weekend. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a game jam by myself. It's gonna be, the theme is one screen arcade. That's it, alright? And then work on that. That way you have like a deadline, you have like a theme, and you're like, okay, I can start thinking about the idea for a game. I also think that taking breaks or making sure you make something is very important. So if you're not doing a jam, for example, you're working, you know, you have a larger project that takes quite a lot of time, I would work on that every single day, right? Doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes or 4 hours, or if you get one thing done or 5 things done. Yeah, I think you should always work on it every single day, no matter, you know, how much time you have or how little time you have. I also think it's important to have something visual, like Like I really like the whiteboard. It helps a lot. I used actually on Friday I used like a very nice calming music and just thought about like what do I actually like, you know. That's like, oh, I like this character, the character likes to do this in this other game, or like, can I use that, right? And don't be afraid to come up with like something basic. I think that's very important. Like I wouldn't flesh out the game completely from the get-go, because you'll get ideas once you get going. Like the idea of like the stamina and everything, I didn't have that. I just added that because like that made sense. But also keep the scope small. If you want to make sure you release a game, keep the scope small, and then you can scope it up for the future projects pretty much. Yeah, so that's it for now. I tried to keep it short. I hope you guys like it, and yeah, I really like the engine so far, and I hope to show off the other project that me and my friend Fabian were working on. We'll see. We have a really cool idea there, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, but that's kind of it for now, and yeah, thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next time.